Definitely wanted to dedicate this video to Master Steve from Foul Play Racing, the guy who makes Four Dudes on a Twin go. But we didn't win a single race either, and we crashed into them, but we finished it. So Steve's been doing a lot of fixing bikes and
NC bike. I ran it over with my trailer. We've all it was behind me, and I was backing up, and I'm like, "What the hell?"
And dealing with a lot of my herding cat antics, I guess, chasing me around, making sure I'm doing everything correctly.
One of them is the bar is off, and I'm like, "Dude, you didn't notice?" He says, "Nah, not really." But good thing this track is all right-hand turn.
So the Four Dudes on a Twin bike is actually pretty much 100% assembled and built by Steve. I'll go down there to hand him tools and stuff, but more to provide entertainment because I'm not really allowed to touch anything because when I touch stuff it gets messed up. So often a race weekend goes, let's say we're going to go to Roebling all the way down south. I'll get off work on Friday at 3:30. I'll drive straight down to Steve's house. He'll already have all the bikes in the trailer, and again, every nut, bolt, tire, piece of dust is off the bike, and it is pristine. And then me and Steve drive, 12, 13, 14 hours through the night, and Steve again sets everything up. Bikes are out in the pits, and then I jump on it and I go ride it. And a lot of times I destroy it, unfortunately. But
how does he handle that? Does he
Steve,
super upset? And
sometimes he gets upset, especially because sometimes I do really, really stupid stuff. But Steve's definitely the kind of guy that he wants to give to everyone. I had an incident at Roebling. It was probably one of the worst ones, and I was leading by like 45 seconds or something like that. And on my way back into the pits, I already signaled in to come out. I tucked the front, being an idiot, and just walloped the motorcycle. It was pretty bad, and we brought it into the pits, and you could tell he was a little upset, but that didn't stop him from, all right, let's fix the bike, let's do it right now. We stuck like a shovel in the exhaust, bent it back, changed the clip-ons, and he has all these quick change like kits, like full built rear sets, clip-on things, so all we got to do is switch a couple things. And bike went back out, and Steve is one of the people, it doesn't matter how messed up the bike is, doesn't matter how far behind we are, that bike needs to go back out on the track and it needs to finish. Doesn't matter if that bike's sitting there idle for an hour and a half or 80% of the race. Just the principle is the bike needs to cross the finish line at the end. And having that mentality, we're definitely not all of us the fastest riders, but just being consistent and finishing the race. This one is the 2019 championship, which there weren't a lot of super fast guys in that championship, but to us, that meant a lot. Just because our mentality wasn't to go the fastest, it was to finish all the races and have a lot of fun doing it. So
how many different, how many people are in the crew for y'all's endurance races?
You're talking about like pit crew and
pit crew and riders, so pit crew and including riders, what's it take?
So one of the things I absolutely love about endurance racing is it's not just about the rider. So you go to like a Weir sprint race or any sprint race, your rider shows up, maybe he has one guy with him to help him get the bike off the warmers and stuff. But endurance racing's completely different. Now your wife or your sister or your brother or your mom can come to the track and now be a part of the bike going around the track. And especially with our mentalities, the goal is to get the bike to cross the finish line. I remember our first ever race. The bike was built from 4 SV650s, and we just took all of the best parts from each bike the night before. And it was definitely still, it was the best we had, but we had, Lars's wife, my dad, Steve, his wife, a couple other family members that now aren't part of motorcycle racing are now excited, and they're running the pit board, and they're trying to make this pit stop as fast as they can. So I mean, the pit crew is usually run by, you know, close family or close friends, and it becomes something else. And I remember, like, our bike is in 18th place, and we move up to 17th place. You know, it's nothing, but everyone in the pit's like screaming and excited and so happy about it. And then, you know, they're drawing like inappropriate pictures on the pit board to celebrate for the rider. You know, the rider is like, he's getting passed by 5 super bikes on the straightaway, still like, yes, you know, it's just a different kind of fun.
Yeah, so there's more engagement for more than just the rider. It's like, it's a team effort, right?
Mhm.
So would you be able to compete in endurance racing without Steve's help, or?
Oh no! So we've had this talk before, and I never like to call people slow or anything, but you know, if you look at like the results and everyone, like Steve's lap times are usually lower. I mean, Steve has a purpose; he builds the machines. But with my other teammates, we have an agreement. Doesn't matter if, let's say, we're in first place and Steve's the last guy to ride, and we might drop down to second or third. Doesn't matter. Steve needs to ride the bike, because the reason why I am able to go fast, the reason why the 4 dudes on a twin machine is able to get to that first place is because Steve spent probably 2 or 3 weeks prior, like he'll take a flathead screwdriver and straighten out all of the radiator fins on the thing just so it's perfect, you know, and it won't break. And that's the kind of stuff he does to the machine. So without him, that machine, we've never blown up a motor on the track, and we've always finished a race. And without Steve, you know, both of those things are definitely guaranteed to happen, especially after these crashes. You know, some of the times where I just would normally throw in the towel are other teammates. You know, if it wasn't for Steve, we would have lost out on a lot of points because he made sure that bike got back on the track both times, or a lot more than both times, but maybe both times last year.
Where did you meet Steve at?
It's an interesting story. So I met Steve through someone, Lars Dunaway, to do this first endurance team, and then I wanted to go start sprint racing on my own. And I bought a $1,200 SV650 and, I don't know, a $1,000 truck. It was absolute garbage. And I was out sprint racing by myself, and I started doing okay. And then Steve's like, hey, I want to sprint race too. Let's like meet up. And I knew Steve a little bit at this point, but we just pitted together, helped each other out a little bit. And that weekend, his first race, he got taken out in the first corner, like done for the weekend. So he was kind of arguing with me before that because I didn't want anyone to touch my bike. I wanted to do it myself, but the bike was bad. And I was still doing okay, but you know, I think it was my first race, my shifter fell off after I was arguing with him about not putting Loctite on. I was like, I'm not putting Loctite on, Steve. I don't need it. And you know, first lap out, shifter falls off. And I comes along. It's a good thing I was in 4th gear because I was able to finish the race. Steve's like, all right, well, you're gonna let me fix the bike now? And you know, within an hour or two, he's got the whole thing stripped down and literally found it was a bolt on the rear shock, had backed its way out like 85%. So if I went out again, that rear shock just would have blown apart and I would have really hurt myself. We found out that the front forks were like off center by like 8 millimeters, something like that.
So it turned really good one way and not so good.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with the shock. The bike was riding like this, and I was still getting like 2nd, 3rd place. I'm still doing okay. And again, this is amateur, not like super fast stuff. There was a rider who pretty much won all of the rounds. Like no one got close to him. But Steve started helping me, and now he built this bike, this junk bike, into something that was rideable. And you know, I went out and I was like, holy crap, Steve, like I actually passed him. Like, and usually he's like 10, 15 seconds faster than me a lap. Like, you see that? And he passed me again. Steve's like, look, the guy's better than you. What you're gonna do is you're gonna follow him the whole time, you know, find out where he's good. Find out where you're better than him. On the last lap, charge in, let him know you're there. He's gonna make a mistake. Next corner or two, dive in and get him. And I remember this is, I think, the last race of the day or the race after, whatever it was. And I remember going out and it's like, dear God, please, like this guy literally sacrificed his whole day to turn this $1,000 junk bike into something that I could ride just because I liked riding motorcycles and helped me. He barely knew who I was. And I went out and that's exactly what I did, what Steve told me to do. I got a pretty good launch. I stayed on him the whole race. And tried to stay calm. And during the last lap, turn 1, I came in, I charged in on him, just to let him know I was there. Pulled away again, turn 2, same thing, charged in on him. And we were coming up over the hill. I had a little better of a drive, and I started to kind of come around the outside, so that way when we were at the bottom of the hill, I was able to stick the bike right in there because he went just a little bit wide. That being said, we got lucky, ran into a little bit of traffic. Since I was up front, I had the advantage. I was able to get around him and slow him down a little bit. So we come up to the last corner at Summit, and I needed a good drive because my bike was down horsepower. It had a Chinese aim exhaust, and that's about it. So I'm coming down the straight, and I'm on the gas. I'm like, please, 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 come on. I want to get him. I want to get him. I want to get him. And all I see is this bike coming along. I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And he just gets me over the line. So I'm like, all right, whatever. When I prayed to God, I was like, look, just help me put on a show for Steve. I didn't ask to win. Just help me put on a show for Steve. I come into the pits, and Steve's like, yeah, like screaming all this other stuff. I was like, dude, I almost had him. I almost had him. He's like, no, dude, look, you won. And it was like 0.002 seconds or something like that. It must have been where the GPS was placed on the tank. And on top of that being that close, coming up over the hill, I don't know if you're not familiar with Summit, but coming up over the hill on the right-hand side is like a really far, odd place for people to watch. That's where him and his wife went. When I came down the hill, went right around the outside and almost, crashed my brains out trying to go on the inside of them. Yeah. And after that, we kind of had a thing right there, and Steve started twisting buttons and moving the suspension and just helping me stay calm and helping me become a better racer. And we just kind of started a thing from there. And Steve's like a really good electrician. He's really good with his hands, but like I was a new racer, he was a new race mechanic. So like we would go into something and he'd be like, all right, let's see what this does. This guy told this, and he would change this, and I'd go out and be like, all right, that didn't work. Let's not do that again. Then we'd change it again. And we just trial and error. But I definitely have to give it to Steve for his level of perseverance. That's something that I learned from him most. And he never, when I got down, he was always someone that would grab me by the collar and pick me up. Like, dude, you can do this. Stop being a baby. Get up. Let's do this. Sample, I was at Sonoma. Bike went all the way to California to go qualify a race, a track that I've never been to. And I think I was probably 15 seconds from qualifying. From the slowest person, I was the only person that didn't qualify. And it's like kind of a lot of pressure because like people were like, oh, you stink, you're not that fast, blah, blah, blah. People kind of even like look at you different. With Steve, it didn't matter where I was. He was there trying to help me make the bike go faster. He's changing the springs, he's doing this, he's talking to me about some other things. And he was actually changing the spring on one of his, on my bike, and somebody came up to him and was like, what are you doing? He's like, changing the spring. And the guy told him, he's like, it's not the spring that's making him go slow lap times. And Steve said, my job is to make him feel more comfortable. If I change the spring, it's going to make him feel more comfortable, so he's going to go faster. And I think it was the next day during the last qualifying. I don't know what he said to me during that day. He usually writes little messages on my tank so I can keep myself calm. That and this little chin pad that when I go down the straightaway, I brush my face on it. I don't remember. I think it was like "they ain't shit" or something like that, like something really dumb. And I remember like coming down on the track, screaming at my helmet like "they ain't shit," whatever. And you see my lap time just like dropping and dropping and dropping. And I was like, okay, got a couple good laps. I pitted in. I was going to talk to Steve. I was like, all right, how's that? He's like, dude, you're like 0.25 seconds from qualifying. What are you going to do? And qualifying's running, time's running out. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go do a warm-up lap. I'm going to charge in this corner. I'm going to go in this corner a little bit faster. I think I can make it. I go out, do my warm-up lap, and it's like green, 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 which means that I'm doing a better time, so I'm going to qualify and come around the last corner. Looks like I'm going to make it, and boom, dude plows into me. Throws me on the ground. And, it was, I was a little bit upset, but I stood up from that, and I walked out, and Steve was kind of a little bit apologetic. I don't know why, but I was even telling him, I was like, dude, like, look what we did. We just cut 15 seconds off of a track we've never been to, and we, 15, 20 laps on this place? Like, that's pretty impressive, man. Like, we came all the way out here, and we gave it a 100% all. And that's pretty much all we really wanted to do, and that's why we left there. Yeah, I didn't qualify, but I left there saying I gave it everything we had. And we kind of, as we started going through more of these things, that mentality started sticking more and more. We went back to Pittsburgh, and Now I finally had my 2 mil motor, like the big motor, you know, a little extra power, a lot more torque. And I knew the pit racetrack. Go out to qualify, you know, I'm like mid-pack. That's really good for me because normally I'm in the back. Pit in, and Steve's like, look, you qualified. Go out there, send it. Where are you going to get your better times? I'm like, all right, got it. Turn 1, I'm not going to get on the brakes till after the hill. And this is first qualifying in the morning. I come up over the hill, get on the brakes, too late, grabbed a fistful of brakes, which is a stupid mistake, and the front end starts doing this. I'm like, I'm not going to make it, hit the grass. Bike hits the ground, and I'm like, all right, I'm okay. But the shifter grabbed the grass and just ripped the bottom half of the brand new Superbike engine out. And we didn't bring the backup motor. So get the bike out to Parc Fermé. That was pit race.
Oh,
VAR was when I broke it the first time.
Okay.
So this is,
I remember that.
I broke it the first time at VAR, and then put in the other motor, went to Sonoma, then went to pit race with the big motor back in. And this is actually one of my favorite races, even though, you know, the results weren't that good. But we're walking the bike back from Parc Fermé, and you know, I think that was the only time I ever saw Steve like a little bit down. He's like, man, dude, this is like over. I'm like, damn, like I guess our weekend's over. And like that, he flipped. He's like, dude, I gotta take this motor out anyways. Why don't you go see if we can find another motor? I'm like, you fucking crazy, dude? We gotta race in like 3 hours. He's like, I'm taking it out anyways. Go find another motor. I'm like, all right. So I start walking around the paddock, and I think it's Greg Reisinger from 996 Racing had like a Craigslist motor in the back of his truck. It wasn't safety wired or anything. It probably worked. And he's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. He's like,
Probably works.
it's like, yeah, dude, you can borrow it. If we make it work, make it work. And I was like, all right. I'm like, this is crazy. This isn't going to work. So take it out of this big plastic container, and I huck it over to my bike. And Steve's already pretty much got the motor out. Bike's in a million pieces. And I'm like, look, I found a motor. He's like, all right, start safety wiring it. And I start safety wiring. Now the time's starting to like click by. We got the new motor in. Steve Wipes is handing, you know, basically throwing him tools as he's speeding through this thing. And we made a couple mistakes toward the end. I was like, look, Steve, you're stressing out like crazy. Like, let's just bag the race today. We'll come back tomorrow, and we got a motor. Like, it's all good. And he just like stands up all pissed off. He's like, we're fucking racing today. Shut up. Get your gear on. I'm like, all right, got my gear on. I went and I sat in the corner, and I'm like, I guess I'm doing this. And now we're like 2-3 minutes from race time. And I'm like kind of sweating. I'm like, you know what? He's going to have the bike ready. I believe it. Maybe a minute left. Bike's done. Fires up. He's like, all right, well, it works for the good part. On your way to the grid, go run through the tech garage and then go grid up. So on my way to go grid up, I run through the tech garage. They go, okay, cool, done. Bam, slap a sticker on it. Now I'm going out on the outlap, and I'm like, okay, it shifts okay, it brakes okay, it gasses okay, all right, whatever, let's just try it.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember being on the grid and thinking like, holy crap, dude, like, we just, look at all this crap, all this stuff we overcame. And that was a pretty proud moment for me and the team and Steve, and I was like, there's a huge lesson to be learned by just don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep trying. I did.
Okay.
And I think I got like 26 out of 35.
Yeah.
But it was actually one of the funnest races I've ever done because I was with, I guess, a little bit of a slower pack, but I had a bum motor. So there were probably 8 of us, like all in a line. And it was the best battle for 25th to 30th place I've ever seen. And I mean, it was amazing. I mean, these guys were banging bars like they were about to win a $10,000 trophy, but it was just fun.
Yeah.
You know, and we all knew each other, and we knew that when we were, you know, bumping a little bit, everyone was smiling in their helmets. And, you know, and I got back into the pits, you know, I saw Steve smile and just got his hand up in the air and he's like pointing at me. I was like, we did it, man. Good job. And I mean, I can go all day with these stories. You know, these are just some of the highlights. And, you know, Steve also got different versions from a different perspective because sometimes I leave out a little bit of details.
Yeah.
So, but, oh, there's another good one. We put a new front end on my Superbike, and I wanted to test it out. And he's like, no, you're going to break it. You're going to break it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to break it. I need to test this motor. I need to test this front end out. I'm not going to do anything stupid, so drive all the way to Roebling through the night. You know, the typical get off work Friday, drive through the night, don't sleep, ride during the track. And I did okay. I got some time, and then we're like, got this crazy idea. Like, hey, let's go ride at NC Blake. You know that track really well on the way back. So I was like, all right, cool. Steve's like, nah, it's a dumb idea. You're gonna break it. I'm like, I'm not gonna break it. It's fine. I just want to test the front end. And I get to NC Blake. I probably made it about 3 laps before I'm like, wow, this thing feels really good. Let me see if I can, sometimes, you just think a little bit wrong when you're on the bike. I'm like, let me try and take that super fast corner wide open. I bet you that's a great idea. And I'm coming through it, and then I think my front, you look at the pictures, I didn't even feel it. I was going so fast. The front tire must have slid for probably 50 yards. And then once it hit the grass, I remember hitting the ground. I'm like, God, I'm in trouble. That was dumb. All right, well, I'm okay. Maybe the bike's okay too. I'm looking up, like trying to see the bike because I'm sliding on the ground 100 miles an hour, and I see pieces go. I'm like, I'm definitely in trouble. Yeah, like that super fast. That super fast right.
Yeah.
And it was wet back there, so the bike went on forever. And then we were pitted over here by the bathrooms, like at the opposite end. Turn four. Yeah, turn 4. And that was probably about after 3 laps. And yeah, and I kind of like walked over back to the trail, like, made a boo-boo. And he's like, all right, start taking it apart. We'll do what we can. And that bike had to get loaded to go into the 18-wheeler to go to Road America that same day. So we brought it to the Road America rig and like, dude, what did you do? We're like, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. So Steve flew in a little bit early. Again, ripped the whole thing down. I'm talking like every nut and bolt and every speck of dust was off this thing. And probably by the time I woke up to do the next race, it was 100% ready.
Yeah.
And me and Steve have a pretty cool dynamic because he's always on the super conservative side and I'm always on the super extreme behavior side.
Yeah.
So we're both really relaxed, calm, reasonable people. So when we have these like debates, it's a really cool like mixture and it's a balance. Sometimes Steve wants to be super safe, but I want to be super extreme and take all these stupid risks. So we end up coming together and making a pretty good team through that. And then, we have a Muskie who's also kind of like do everything last minute, doesn't know where anything is, same behavior as me. So Steve, we call him the cat herder because, we're kind of just spinning around in circles trying to figure out what's going on. He's like, you, do that, you, do that. And on top of that, like the race will be at 10 o'clock and sometimes I think Muskie got there at like 9:30 one time, and we didn't hear from him for like 24 hours. But this is normal, so it's like, whatever, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, Muskie, we had to change a clutch before one of the races, and Steve's like in full-blown panic mode. He's like, "Oh, we did all this, blah blah blah," and Muskie's kind of sitting there smiling. I'm going to race motorcycle. I don't care. And we get it all fixed last second, and we forgot to put gas in the bike. So we're sitting at the wall screaming at Muskie like, "Yo, you forgot to put gas in the bike! Forgot to put gas in the bike!" And he's just sitting there like. He leans the bike up against the wall, jumps over the wall, grabs the gas can. We see him, dumps it right into the can, no problem. And we look over and we realize that when it's all gone, he's like, "I'm good, guys, don't worry." Takes it out, throws it on the ground, bam, gone. Like just complete nonchalant, no problems. Muskie never did a grid launch before at one of the races. Most people would be like really nervous. You got 50 bikes on the grid and you're right in the middle of all of them. You've never launched a motorcycle before. And same thing. He's just like, smile ear to ear, be like, "Muskie, you can be all right." He's like, "I'll figure it out. I'll be all right. I'll figure it out." Steve loves that line. "I'll figure it out. I'll be all right, and it's fine." It's never just fine. Whenever there's a problem, like, "Oh, Steve, it's fine." It's like, "It's not fine." But no, definitely want to dedicate this video to Steve, the organizer, motivator, basically the backbone of Four Dudes on a Twin and the 642 Moto America Twin. I would still be back riding amateur with pieces of my bike flying off, maybe getting some 4th, 5th place trophies, and not only just the racing, just the bond we formed with our team, all of that, is because of Steve, and we had tools to work with, and it's been work, but it's been fun the entire time, and I can't wait to continue to do it and keep other people getting into this sport. Even if you're not a rider, just to come and be a pit guy, come do the gas can, like it's exciting trying to get the bike to move on the track or get out of the pit zone for 6 seconds instead of 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I got it backwards, but it's a lot of fun. I really hope that the series grows and hope to see more racers come out and more people like Master Steve.
Nice.